Hello, babes. Welcome back to the show. I have a local Atlanta guest on with us today. And if you have seen my Instagram stories over the last few months, you will recognize her, Miss Keri Ford. Welcome to the show. She is an executive somatic coach, and she's going to share a lot more about that and somatics and just how it's impacted her life, how she fell into somatic work, but also how she uses her story and her approach to life to expand other women as well. So, hi.
Hi, friend. I'm so happy to be here.
Me too. I'm so proud of you, and I loved being a part. I mean, I love being a part of your world. Keri and I actually met a few years ago, connected through some other mutual entrepreneurial friends here in Atlanta. And then I think just like, I don't know, COVID, whatever, lots of things going on, right? And we reconnected probably in the last 6 months. And we did like a dinner in January, and it was just so soul connecting. Oh my gosh, it made me feel so good. I want to have more of that type of experience, not just for myself, but it really like, and then you created the champagne club and I attended that. And I've like met like the soul sister too, Becky, who is also on the podcast. And it was just like being in those rooms, being surrounded by high-minded women is
Mm.
just, it's a different experience than like it really, I mean, for me anyways, like it shifts things, and it could be literally one conversation out of a 2-hour conversation, and that one conversation is the message that you needed to hear to shift so much for you. And like that's what happened, I feel like, during our dinner. That's what happened during your champagne club event. Like, so thank you for offering that for me.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's so true, right? This one thing, this one belief shift, it's like suddenly it all makes sense.
Yeah.
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 Thanks for being part of all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for more.
Yeah, you coming to the next one? We
I
got
think
June coming
so.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in June. Yeah. Yes, I need to definitely look into that. I think I'm going somewhere one weekend in June, but I don't think it's like conflicting.
Cool.
So I'm hoping that I can come. But yeah, so first and foremost, would love to like know who Keri is. Like, what is your past? If you can take us, down through the rabbit hole of your life journey. Any
Yeah.
challenges, adversities that you've gone through, to put you in the position that you're in today?
So many adversities. I feel like, everybody has their pile of hardship. And there's that one quote that says, like, if you could put your problems in a pile, you'd probably pick yours back out again, if you were amongst everybody else, like looking at what their problems are. And so it's hard to compare. But I mean, eating disorder, divorce, like being fired from jobs, just feeling like the eternal black sheep in my family, feeling like I'm swimming upstream from high highs to low lows. And those are some pretty big traumas. Those are some pretty big things to navigate. And the one thing I really pride myself on is, you know, leaning into the face of adversity and
Mhm.
getting curious around what's available for me to learn here. I can't say I was always aware that I was doing that, but
Yeah.
with somatic work and healing work, now I know that, I have leaned into the courage that it requires to move through and overcome those things because I know that like peace and expansion is on the other side of it.
Right.
But this version of me that you and I have come to know in the past few years it's more myself than I've ever been. And yet it's a totally different version of me than I was when I was married, than I was probably between the years of like 15 and on, because you
Mm.
just learn how to slowly shut down
Yeah.
and become a chameleon or a people pleaser or a
Yeah.
perfectionist to achieve belonging and praise and accolade and achievement. So, I mean, that was much of my adult life, definitely my teenage life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I started as I actually have a degree in art, bachelor in fine arts. So I
Okay.
started as an art director in New York at an ad agency. I very quickly realized about 2 years in, like, this isn't for me. I wanted to help people. I just didn't know what that looked like. And so the path of searching, really searching, and I felt like lost for probably a 10-year period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Searching for that that's when that started. So 2008, I moved to LA, no
Mm-hmm.
job, started working at a protein smoothie shop with a college degree. My parents were like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
Like, you have this 6-figure college degree and you're the oldest one there and you're working with like teenagers at a protein smoothie shop in Hollywood.
Yeah.
What the
Mm.
fuck? It didn't make sense. I just knew I needed to be there.
Huh. What
So that's where it
transpired
all
from that?
began.
Yeah.
What came from that?
Yeah.
A woman named Ashley Conrad. And you know, the power of relationship changes everything. It just takes one person, one conversation, one different choice to take you down a whole different path. And she walks in and I'm like, damn, this woman is like ripped. She's like shredded. She walks in and she's got this light about her. And we start connecting because it's really easy once you know Ashley to connect. And we start chatting. And she's like, so you want to get out of here? You want to like make more money? And I was like, well, who doesn't? So it turns out she's Bradley Cooper and why can't I remember her name from 10 Things I Hate About You? Or not 10 Things I Hate About, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Uh, Kate Hudson.
Yes, Kate Hudson's trainer, P. Diddy. She trained all these people. And she brings me to this small celebrity gym. It's behind a Starbucks on Hollywood Boulevard. It doesn't even have a sign. It's literally an alleyway with a gate that has a big padlock on it. And you have to know somebody to work out there. And it had spin and personal training. It was just like a long galley, just, some free weights, treadmills, and all the way in the back, this spin room. I was the only one there without tattoos. I was new to Hollywood. I was like, whoa, where the fuck am I? And yeah, that's where I started as a personal trainer because when I moved to Hollywood, I knew I wanted to become a trainer, again, helping people. So that was like puzzle
Right.
piece number one.
Absolutely.
Been behind the desk at that gym, taught 5 spin classes a week, and Gerard Butler and Kaylee Kukuo and Laura Prepon all came to take my classes.
Wow.
Allie Sweeney was one of my clients. And so I just kind of fell into it.
Hmm.
But without Ashley Conrad, I wouldn't have had that opportunity.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. It's so interesting because I feel like, I mean, that was a similar path for me too, as far as like physical, like it's like fitness,
Yep.
personal training, like that was where I started too with the personal training. And I don't think I ever had the thought, the first 10, 12 years of my adult life after college. I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do in college. I just got a degree to get a degree to get out of there, more or less. But I did.
So
I'm
many
like,
people have done that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, I have a fashion merchandising degree, didn't do anything with it. Did
Oh,
not.
that's fun. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I really did not know what I wanted to do. So just followed my sister, went in those footsteps. I mean, I followed my sister's footsteps in that regard. And yeah, then I did an internship and I was like, no, don't care about this at all. Don't want to do it. I like shopping. I just don't want to do this. Don't want to be
Yeah.
a buyer. Don't want to design, decorate storefronts. Do not care. Don't care at all. So yeah, I fell more into like account executive, account management type of roles. But my mom actually got health coaching certified a year and a half before I did. And her and the boyfriend at the time, they were like, Kyle, like you're very like health conscious. Maybe this is something that you would be interested in as well. So my mom even said, she was like, I don't know if you never did anything professionally with it, at least you would have a lot of knowledge personally. And I was like, sure, okay. But the school sets you up to become a coach and like launch a health coaching business and all that. But still at the time, I wasn't like, I still didn't have this like entrepreneurial mindset. I just was working a 9 to 5. Now I have a side hustle. Cool. I had a lot of those. I bartended. I did liquor promotions. I always had a side hustle. I was always hustling to make more money. Always.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what the coaching started out as. And then I fell into doing being an all audio based like fitness trainer for an app that was based out of New York City. That's how I met Jamie McFadden, who
Okay.
connected me with Samantha Joy. Like that's
Yep.
our little Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, Jamie and I were trainers. I have a couple of girls here in Atlanta were the trainers for that. And we would go to a recording studio here in Atlanta and do the recordings. And with those, I was doing strength training to spin classes because I taught spin also
Hmm.
for a couple of years at like an LA Fitness here in Atlanta. And I did like walking workouts, like whatever it was. And then people started following me on Instagram more, and my following started to like grow a little bit from that app on social media. And I was receiving messages like, oh my gosh, your workouts are changing my life, not just like physically, but just like your motivation and your words. Because, I would say things like, what doesn't challenge you doesn't change you. And you got to lean into the discomfort, this uncomfortable stuff. This is what's going to make the changes and create the most impact in your life. And I guess I just was using a lot of like empowering statements and words to get them through the workouts. And, Chase Life had pretty much was developing during those times too. And then I was like, wait, I've been working a corporate job for 10 years. I've never heard anybody tell me I'm changing their life. And so it wasn't necessarily that I was like, oh, I want to like help people. It just, I was helping people and it felt good.
Hmm.
So of course, then I just started leaning into more of the like health coaching and life coaching from that point on. And of course, as you know, my story, I've been in and out of corporate, but still have this idea of like, I know there's more for me. Like there's so much more. And as you and I talked about in January, it's like, it's like I've held on to things that I don't want to hold on to anymore, or that I don't want to do anymore. And I finally feel these last like couple of months, I've been just in this, wow, I'm relaunching the podcast. That feels good. This feels so good to just talk to other people who are high-minded, like-minded, want to help people, are in the space of creating impact, and expanding people. I think that's, like I was thinking earlier, honestly, I was like, there's coaches and there's people out there that have like a thing. And I'm like, what is my thing? I don't know what my thing is. And then I was like out on my walk and I'm like, maybe it's just like I like, I'm like, my thing is like vulnerability, but my to help you like expand. Like I just want to help people expand. Think outside the box, get a little bit uncomfortable, like do those things. I'm like, but is that like an it thing? Like,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Very creator type thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's been anyway, it's my inner dialogue, but but connecting with, you and like I said, our dinner date that we had in January was just very helpful for me in many ways. And it did help me just feel more comfortable in decision making, I guess, too. Just being like, okay, this is what I want to be doing. Let's cut
Hmm.
the BS of other things out and let's keep leaning into the comfort, or not the comfort, but like the joy, the happiness that these things that light me up the most are going to bring me.
So it gave you a filter.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
I'm like, a 3 hour dinner will do that to you. You know what I mean? Like, we went deep. We were like, holy shit, like it's 3, 4 hour dinner. It was amazing because it flew by. It was such a good conversation.
It definitely was. But no, I love that. So, okay. So then you went from personal training,
Mhm.
and then how has that
I,
evolved? How
then I
long
went
ago?
back to corporate.
Okay. Okay.
Then I
Yeah.
went back to corporate because I was like, I'm trading time for money, with personal training. And this, if you've been a gym trainer on the floor with spin classes or group fitness, there's two windows of time. Even in Hollywood, there was like 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Then you have this weird gap of time. Maybe you have a couple people that are like, not traveling on set or are like in between shows and producing and stuff like that. And they're taking a random like afternoon slot. And then you have like your 5 to 9 PMers. So you're kind of on, like your nervous system is like anticipating being on. And so you don't really have a come down because there's no bookend to the end of your day until 9. So you're
Mm.
essentially on from like 5 a.m. to 9. And looking at my paycheck, even in Hollywood, again, I was still a new trainer. I wasn't charging like at the time, some of the high end trainers were charging 200, 250 an hour. And I was like, whoa, like that's wow. How do you charge that? I think I was charging like 60 and I was like, whoa. But I mean, how many sessions can you do a day? How many
Right.
group fitness classes can you actually teach and take and be on the bike with?
Yeah.
And so you're like, there's a cap on what you can make. And I was like, okay, let me go back to what I know, which is, I know I wanted to like still help people. So I went back to corporate, but I went to work for Skechers, and that was in Manhattan Beach. And I became a creative director for Shape Ups. And I thought, oh my gosh, I found my dream job. I have fitness. I'm on set with like Denise Austin and Karina Smirnoff and these people that are modeling Shape Ups. And I'm like art directing like proper form. And I'm using my creative, ad brain to design these campaigns and retail graphics for international. So I did that, and I was promoted very quickly to leadership, and I had a team of 3 people under me at 26.
Wow.
And then after 2 years, they went through a big layoff. I was in the layoffs. I also was like finding myself having this 2-year expiration date at every corporation job. It was like I would ascend the ladder easily, and then I would get bored once I was on top of the mountain, and I would look for the next thing.
Yeah.
And I think part of it was some way I was secretly sabotaging, but I ultimately didn't want to be there. It was just like something I did and was good at and made a lot of money doing, but
Right.
it wasn't my calling. And it was a way that I kind of avoided my ultimate calling, because when you step into your calling, it can be a little scary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I went back to corporate, and then I was laid off, and then I went back to fitness, and I launched what was called Ignite Girls Fitness. And that was online nutrition and fitness. So in my mind, I was like wanting to be the Tone It Up girls. I
Yeah.
was, entering this phase of fitness modeling, being a sponsored athlete, and fitness coaching, fitness competitions. So I did that. And I met a lot of really cool people. Like Lori Harder was on our competition team, and Lindsay Messina, some of those people, Angelique Nori, a lot of people that are actually in the personal development space now. And so it's funny how so many of us like pursued it through fitness. And that's
Right.
kind of what was like available to us or what we knew at the time. And then we stuck around, and certain few like kind of evolved.
Absolutely.
And then I did that for a bit, and then I went back to corporate again when I had kids, because I was like, I'm making $1 with online fitness stuff. I
Yeah.
still didn't understand sales. I
Mm.
still didn't understand the online marketing. This was like in the era of ebooks. So it was like
Right.
write an ebook for like $15 and people will come and buy it. Well, yeah, the Tone It Up girls had thousands of people. They had like your size following. So like that makes sense. You launch something, high volume model, low ticket, people
Right.
snatch it up. You can actually make a living off that. Me,
Yeah.
I'm like, hey mom, can you like my post? Nobody liked it.
Right. Yeah.
I
Like,
have this ebook that like 4 people bought. And you're like, wow, I just spent hours writing this fucking ebook and nobody bought it. And I'm like trying to like produce the level of content and the volume of content of like the Tone It Up girls or whoever was like in the online fitness community then. And it
mm,
wasn't happening. It wasn't working. It wasn't, to be honest, even aligned with what I wanted to do. I thought it was what I should do. And it was
mm,
just another piece of the puzzle, it was another tool in my belt. It was another notch on the post of like putting reps in, honestly.
hmm. Interesting. It's so funny you said that about the ebook. When Love is Blind aired, I had an ebook.
Did you?
Yeah,
What
I
was
still
your ebook?
it's so well, it's there's a few workouts in it, and there's a little bit of like, I want to say like not nutrition advice, but like just kitchen tips more or less, like
Sure.
healthy eating tips. And
Yep.
then just some self-care practices. And I thought the other day, I was like, you know what, I should probably like revamp that and like make it more like brand it differently and that kind of thing. Cause it was fine. It was like 20 pages. But it was so I was everything, as I mentioned, back in January too. It's like everything I did from after filming that to 6 months ago was like operating from a very dysregulated nervous system. So like I put it out there. It's like, yeah, I had like 400,000 followers. I threw out the thing, I think for free. And
Yeah.
then I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, people were downloading it. I'm like, Kelly, you could have even charged $1.99. Like, what? Like, not that it's about that, but I was like, I was just throwing shit like, oh, y'all want this? Okay, here's this. And then like I wouldn't promote it again. Like that was it. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was like I did one hit wonders like for the last 4 years, I feel like I'd promote a program and like maybe a year and a half later, oh guys, remember that program I did like literally 18 months ago? Hey, I'm gonna relaunch that again. Like
Yeah.
it was just so chaotic the last handful of years. It's been crazy. But we're we're good now. We feel good. We feel a
We
lot.
feel good now.
I do. I feel
We
good.
back.
Yeah. But it is interesting that you say that though about like I think that's I don't know if it's maybe you can relate, but like your personal journey as far as and I don't mean like career goes, but necessarily. I mean, obviously it starts to get connected here, but like I feel like my evolution in personal development and self-care and self-love and all of that started with a physical health journey. And then it's gotten so much deeper into like, financial, like money mindset and spirituality and relationship stuff. Like, but it started with the fitness and it feels like it was just interesting that you just said that it's like Lori Harder, like all these other people that seem that everything kind of started in the fitness, the physical realm also for them too. It's interesting, just like, I don't know, watching others do a very similar journey like that. Like
Yeah,
even,
I wonder what that is. It's probably partly the high achiever, right?
yeah,
Especially being drawn to fitness competitions and sort of the extreme nature of that.
yeah,
Um, it's probably also because it's very much doer, right? Here's the strategy, do the plan, follow it, be disciplined. Okay, great. It's like do this, result is reflected immediately.
mm-hmm,
Spirituality is much more esoteric and gray area. It's not as binary, it's not as cut and
right,
paste, like cut and dry, if you will. It's the anti structure. It's the and. So it's interesting. A lot of us started there and then expanded.
yeah, yeah. It's really, yeah, it is. It's just an observation.
Yeah. And
um,
and also not saying that fitness competitions and fitness can't also be spiritual. In my awareness at the time, it just wasn't because I wasn't aware of that part for
yeah,
me, right? And I can't speak for the other people either. Who knows? But I did see a
yeah,
shift in a lot of people.
yeah. I agree. It was the same for me too. And I think that's probably why, when I'm breaking up with health coaching because I have like been so far removed from that more just tangible, tactical nutrition
Yeah.
fitness. And
Yeah.
I'm like, it's so much deeper than that. It's like, so I can't just like, and although, yes, can I coach people on just like those basic strategic principles? Yes. Well, also, I'm like, but it's so much deeper. And I want
So
to,
much.
and of course, that, what is it like marketing saying, like you show them what they want, give them what they need kind of thing,
Hmm.
but I'm like, but I don't want to talk about nutrition and fitness like at all. Like, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
touch on it. Like, hey, are you working out? Are you moving your body? Great, good. Now let's talk about like money mindset and like expanding your abundance and all that.
Well, because,
Um,
you start to actually experience change and transformation when
yeah,
you expand the lens and drill a little deeper. You
yes,
can only go so deep with those other things. And like that's what had me start seeking some of these other modalities because I was like, people aren't changing, right?
yeah,
They're like 12 weeks, 6 months, whatever the program was. I
mm,
can give you the tools, but people wanted me to like coach at the level of knocking a fork out of their hand or be their morning alarm clock
right,
and
right,
texting me a frantic picture from a menu at a restaurant. Like, can I eat something here? It
right.
was just like
Mm,
borderline babysitting. And
yeah,
I loved the level of accountability and commitment that clients had. And at the same time, it was like, I'm only teaching them to rely on me more and
right,
not actually change anything beyond the container. Because once it ends, a lot of them would fall back into habits and patterns that had them arrive to the start of why they signed up to begin with. So I
yeah,
got really curious around like what actually changes behavior on
mm,
like an internal level because it is
yeah,
so much deeper.
absolutely. And what did you discover?
Yeah, I mean, it was a natural evolution for me. I can't say that I was looking for somatic work because you can't look for what you don't know exists. But
Right.
I did find spirituality and then embodiment and intuitive eating. And I was
Mhm.
like, oh, there's something to this. And I didn't really understand um, kind of the paradigm of both listening to your body and then knowing your body's actually going to crave greens and healthy food. Because I had
Mhm.
spent so much time in this restrictive eating and making myself wrong for wanting X, Y, and Z. I mean, down to Nutri-Grain bars and donuts and things like that. And
Yeah.
so, that was just a piece of it. And the more I learned how to embrace as I just brought up, and that esoteric gray space, and know that it was having kind of one foot in both worlds at once, then I was able to understand the somatic work that entered my life. And so I went deeper with that training because I wanted to become a trauma trained practitioner and learn how to actually heal on a systemic level, a nervous system level, heal trauma from people's bodies so that they could actually change and access parts of themselves that they didn't have a key to unlock before.
Right.
And so that for me was like the game changer. And that was just the natural evolution of, I think, of readiness.
Yeah.
And, being open to receive that. It came to me through a business partner that was involved in a program. And I just thought, oh, there's something to this. And I went deeper with that in an effort to, go deeper with mastery and precision in my practice.
Absolutely. So somatics, can you explain a little bit more about what that is to the audience that may be uninformed?
Soma means of the body in Greek. And so there's, of course, embodiment practices, which mean in the body or of the body practices like breath work or yoga. And you'll often see, like, in pop psychology and on social media, people saying like somatic yoga and somatic breath work. And you're like, those are inherently fucking somatic. Like, that's like labeling an apple gluten free because it's a marketing buzzword some people are looking for.
Got it.
But it does include the body, and those are somatic practices, but it's different than somatic therapy. And somatic therapy allows you to actually rewire the nervous system and speak in the language of the body that is not cognitive. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
And so it is challenging to explain what a somatic session looks and feels like, because a lot of people think it's like, those crazy ads on Instagram where it looks like someone's possessed, or it's like Reiki, or it's screaming and rage release, some cathartic thing, because that's what works for healing. And sure, all of that has like a benefit, but that's not really what somatic work is. So what somatic work is it's healing at the level of the nervous system, and it's listening to the sensations of the body and putting words to that experience so that you can start to reorient, restore boundaries, understand and discern between fear and intuition, and actually release things that have held you back from a moment in time that have been stuck in your nervous system that are playing out in the current moment.
Okay.
And uncoupling those. Because let's take relationships, for example. Let's say you only know chaos and unhealthy relationship. Well, the moment healthy relationship and available love shows up, it might still feel unsafe because it's unknown. And the nervous system will actually unconsciously seek to maintain the status quo, despite you cognitively wanting that partnership.
Right.
Or it might even rationalize its way out of it. And that's where upper level limits, those internal blockers, internal limiting beliefs show up, because then from that moment, we're like, okay, am I painting red flags white, or is there actually a red flag here?
Right. Yeah.
Like, or is this fine? Is this healthy?
Hmm.
Is it actually a white flag rather? Is this healthy? And I don't know, right? Because we need to restore the orientation. We need to restore. So someone, let's say, that comes from a narcissistic abusive relationship, their orientation is now off a little bit, right? Because maybe they've gaslit themselves this whole time. So now what is safe feels unsafe, and what isn't safe feels safe because it's familiar, and it's very confusing.
And so it's presencing the sensation, like the feeling that you get in the body when, like,
Yes.
okay, so for example, yes, like I'm sitting here saying, I want this type of relationship. And let's say there's a guy that I meet and he is like checks all the boxes on that type of relationship. He like it's granted, it feels scary though. Like it's starting to feel scary because you meet this person and you're like, wow, he's, he has that entrepreneurial mindset. He's cool. He seems emotionally safe, like all these things that I'm like desiring, but I'm like, nope, that's scary.
Yeah. So that's where in that moment, even as your body tells me when you like pull away or you brace or you have this level of skepticism with one eye open, you're searching with your neuroception to see what's unsafe about this, because clearly I'm missing the mark. There's something here I need to prepare and protect from. And so in that instance, we cognitively want it, but our body and behavior pushes it away. And that's why we don't get what we want.
Right.
Because we don't feel safe to have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that is how and where the somatic work becomes so important, because we can say we want all the money. We can say we want the relationship, We can say, well, it's a worthiness thing. No, it's not. It's a nervous system thing.
Mm-hmm.
There is something at some point in time that created that experience where you had to actually pull away. We may never get to what that T0, the moment of inception of trauma, occurred. We may never get to what that thing is cognitively to know it. We can still get to that moment in time in the body despite that. Somatic work is bottom up processing, it's not top down. And
Right.
so while CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, has a place for sure for people that, maybe don't have anyone to talk to or have never talked to anybody, like talk therapy does have a place, but it won't get you beyond the point of actually changing anything. At that point, it becomes mental masturbation because we're simply talking about the thing we're already fucking aware of. Now
Right.
what? Now
Right.
what do I do with this? Now how do I change it? That's where somatic work comes in, because through guidance with a trauma trained practitioner, because it is very hard to do with yourself unless you have a really strong inner practitioner, and that comes through reps.
Okay.
Now you can access these parts of you that it doesn't make cognitive sense because it's bottom up. We're talking from the level of the nervous system where you're like, okay, so tell me what happens in that moment as you remember the moment that you did have the love you wanted. And you're like, oh, well, like, I'm actually remembering the time I lost that. Okay, well, what happened then? What do you notice in your body? I'm getting hot. I notice my heart picking up, beating. And you're like, oh, that's so interesting. I didn't realize that was there. I've talked about this a million times with my therapist, but like my body's still responding as if it's actually happening right now. And
Right.
that's why it's dictating your future.
Hmm. Okay. So when you're presencing these sensations, then is it just like the awareness? Like, how is it actually like
Yeah. What's
being processed
happening?
and healing? Yeah. Like, how are you actually healing
Yeah.
it, presencing that? What is
Yep.
it?
Great question. So, this is where the trauma trained practitioner practice comes into place. So, what I might do in that instance, and it depends on the nervous system in front of me, and I have to be mindful to go at the pace of that nervous system. I'm looking at a lot of things as I track their body, everything they're not saying, because they probably don't have words. The nervous system is unconscious and automatic. That's what the autonomic nervous system is. It's automatic. It's like blinking and breathing. You don't say like body breathe, body blink. It just does it.
Right.
In the same way that the nervous system is constantly scanning and protecting, it's not meant to be like run from the fire. You don't sit and think that you need to run away. You just fucking run, right?
Right.
I
Right.
smell
Right.
the fire. Oh shit, I'm going to get the fuck out of the building. And
Right.
so we just simply start at the level of sensation. Okay, I notice my heart rate, etc. Okay, is there something your body might want to do here? I might ask. Impulse. You might honor an impulse. Yeah, I kind of want to get up and run away. Great. Let's see what happens if you get up and walk out of the room right now. We're going to honor an impulse that maybe you've made yourself wrong for having this whole time. So
Mm.
now you've built a pattern that despite wanting to run away, you sit and go into a freeze state instead. We're starting to rewrite over it by inviting a new response now to listen to the impulse.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's one choice point. Another choice point might be, despite you wanting to leave right now, can I ask if you were able to tolerate and sit with this feeling another minute longer, how that might feel? I can do that. What happens as you notice and bring attention to that feeling in your chest? Oh, I notice it starts to expand. Great. Does it want to travel anywhere? Yeah, I notice that it kind of wants to move out. Okay, what happens as that happens? So notice how I'm just tracking. It's a co-creation. Oh, well, now my fingers are feeling tingly and I feel really lightheaded. Great. I'm going to have them open their eyes now and reorient to their space. Why? Because that tells me their body is going, it's like too much energy. We're going to come back out of the body. We're going to look back around the room. We're going to connect to the sounds I hear right now. Why? Because they went somewhere else. They were in the past trauma. Okay, let's connect to right now. So what I did there is I took a piece of the trauma, we worked on it a little bit, and then we oriented out to right now to reconnect to what's really going on. And the reason I do that is because we're titrating the thing. We're taking a little bit, a little amuse-bouche of the overall trauma, and we're just starting with 1%. And over time, we'll get to all of it. But what we're learning to do there is be with a little bit of discomfort for a little bit of time. Avoidance, coping strategies, addiction all come from an inability to be with the hard, discomforting thing. Why? Because they seek soothing and numbing.
Right.
We don't need an avoidance strategy if we knew how to be with the hard thing a little longer, a little better. Because
Hmm.
it's like oh, and that's how we expand our capacity. We upgrade what I call our cup, our window of tolerance, our ability to be with more tolerant, to tolerate the discomfort, right? So that's how we actually expand the capacity. So those are two different potential choice points that I might take depending on what I'm seeing in the nervous system. And that's why, it is not the breath work. Breath work to someone who maybe was in a drowning accident, like almost was drowned. That might feel really restrictive in their body. It might feel triggering. We might re-traumatize that nervous system. And of course, it depends on the practitioner and the type of breath work. Other people, it might feel releasing. It depends. But that's more of a practice. That's more of a tool, not necessarily an actual healing of trauma in the nervous system. The two examples I give you are actually rewiring in the system. One is teaching you how to be with discomfort a little longer to expand capacity. The other is teaching you how to listen to the wisdom of your body and follow an impulse where maybe you didn't feel you could before, or maybe you didn't have enough time and space, the first two ingredients of healing, to even know that that was there. So the invitation is to slow down, and you do that in the presence of, again, somebody who is trauma trained and very aware of what's happening and the way that they're guiding you.
Okay. And how, I imagine, like, my head goes to, okay, well, that's great when you're having these, sessions, right, with the trained specialist, but like, you have a session and then you go out into the wild and something it triggers that familiar experience, right? And how many times are you, having these sessions until you can get into I mean, granted, I know it's going to be like individual here, but it's like, are you doing these somatic sessions 2 to 3 times a week or once a month or something like that? Like, for when a very familiar situation experience comes up, that you are able to react and respond in a completely different way than you did that original time.
Again, it does depend on the container. So I've had women come to a retreat. They go home and people are like, did you guys do drugs? Like, you are totally different. And I'm not kidding. People have asked people that have attended my retreats, and they're actually dry except for the last night.
Huh.
So, I mean, we literally send you home a new human.
Wow.
So, and that's a really high touch, intimate container. I typically don't have more than 15 women at a retreat. We're in a very intimate, intense environment, I'll say, but there's also intentional spaciousness and play built into that for integration, right? So we, again, like, I would sit with the nervous system, we're closing our eyes, and then I bring you back out of the room, right? So it's very much like that, but at a retreat. And you could come to one retreat and you could shake some shit up when you come home. There's women that have come home and had $90,000 months for the first time ever. There's women that have come home with clarity and a whole new business idea was birthed just because they gave themselves the time and the space to clear everything that was in the way of listening. Right. So that's like the ultimate release. But, I just got a message before I popped on here from someone that took a masterclass, and she shared with me how that one masterclass has allowed her to understand and have language for things she didn't have words for before, in a way that allowed her to, even to your point, one dinner, we didn't even do a session formally, right? But we did one dinner. Now you have a new filter and you start running everything through that. Something shifts, something is different. So in one session, a lot can change. But what I do recommend for longer term true transformation is 6 months every week, kind of like housekeeping, right? We don't like have a housekeeper come every 6 months. The house would be disgusting.
Right.
And even once a month, it's kind of like, oh, we've got some piles of dust in the corner and like a ball of hair rolling by. And right, like, we'd have a lot of laundry. We'd have a lot to clean up after a month. Right. So a weekly cadence is a really nice cleanup. It's a really nice dusting. But it also allows us the space and the time that's required to get to know each other and your nervous system, so that I can guide you potentially faster the more I know you. Because now I know your edges. Now I know your capacity, right? And I can press in, or we can play a little bit, because then there's expanded trust and safety because we're in it for a longer period of time. So weekly for 6 months is a really great pace. I have one-on-one clients that work with me probably on average about 2 years. And then we can go to like a maintenance pace.
Right. Okay. And when you say, like you were saying, someone came back from your retreat and they had like a 90K month. So what is that doing? That sounds like, I mean, granted, I know what it is, but to tell my audience,
Sure.
like what is, are you shifting like a money belief, a money story that's been like programmed? Like, how are they able
Yeah.
to, how is it affecting their success, quote unquote, in their business when you're doing this work?
Yeah, that particular retreat, we did not one single money mindset thing. There
Okay.
was
Okay.
literally nothing around money. It's a leadership retreat. The whole goal is transformation. So it's healing, rejuvenation, transformation. My goal is to bring you into an environment you've never been in before, which brings up things in and of itself.
Right.
But it's also to bring you into an elevated environment. So I take women to islands and international luxurious spaces because that's going to anchor you up to something
Yeah.
else. Right. And then you're going to do it with other women. So the collective is going to do it together, be vulnerable, to be seen in the one thing that you swore you were going to take to the grave, to be seen in the one thing that you thought made you unlovable and be loved despite it. That's how we heal.
Hmm.
And it starts with two nervous systems doing that. And then we
Yeah.
do it in a group. And then we go home. We feel like we can fucking do anything because we can.
Yeah. I love that.
So we share things that we've never told anybody, like they leave there and they're like, you guys are closer than my family. I've never
Right.
shared any of this with anyone.
Yeah.
But Brene Brown shares that shame requires three things. You've probably heard this, three things to keep us locked up away in our own self imprisonment. Do you know what they are? Have you heard this quote before?
I don't know if I have.
Secrecy, judgment, and silence. So
Mm.
now you share the one thing you swore you'd take to the grave or the many things, and you do it in a group of women. You're
Mhm.
no longer silent. It's no longer a secret. And there's no judgment because we're all loving you despite that thing.
Right. Oh,
And you realize you're not alone in it.
right.
Everybody has their shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we put the posturing to bed. The first day, there's no makeup at the retreats for
Hmm.
that reason, myself included.
I love
We're
that.
all in it. We're all in the circle together.
Hmm. Everybody, like, let's all go to her retreat.
September 18th. Yep, we're going to
Everybody.
Granada.
I will. Oh, that's why I'll be in Switzerland that day.
Oh, did you think about coming? Is that why?
Yeah. Well, when we did your champagne club and
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
the balloon and all the whole thing, that was so cute. Yeah, I was like, dang it, it's the same time. I leave on the 14th to go, and I'm there in
Okay.
10 or 12 days, I think, in Switzerland.
Yeah, that'll be fun though.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. But
Yeah.
yeah, your retreat sounds amazing. I mean, I think it's interesting because even the other day someone was talking to me about, just the relaunch of the podcast and everything, and they were like, "Oh, are you doing a and it was a client in my 9 to 5. They're like, "Oh, are you doing like a launch party?" And I was like, I didn't even think about that. And they're like, "Yeah, like you need to do it big. Like make it a big deal. This is a big deal. You need to start celebrating yourself like in a big way."
Oh.
And I was like, "You're right."
All right, when is it? I'm coming.
I know. I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, so it's launching April 29th. I'm like, that's like in a week. So I may do like a post-launch party or like one of the episodes, like, a special number to me episode or something like that, and like
Yeah.
make it around that time. But I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna do something. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't really celebrate it, when I had my like 100th episode. I had a plan, like an idea, and then I think I just got like caught up in my own head, and I was just like, whatever,
Mm.
it just is what it is, kind of thing. And I just didn't. But I feel that even like you said, taking women to this like extremely like luxurious place to you help people, you help show people what's possible, right? And it's like, again, just even that, and like whether that's not in anyone's mind, like not to say like they can't achieve that, to like, oh, I could own a private island, or I could like go rent a space on a private island or whatever. It's like, but it gives them the just the idea, like, wow, this is awesome, like she did this and she worked in a smoothie, like a protein place before. It's like
Mhm.
you going first and you showing the people and you putting them in environments, I think just helps them level up in so many ways. So like just hearing that, I'm like, okay, if I were to do like my own little like women's club, or do like a podcast relaunch party, like anything that I'm wanting to do, I want to make it feel very expansive for people too. I don't want to downplay it and, create it from, I guess the mindset that I'm in today. I want to create it as if I've already like done the things and I have the things and whatever I'm wanting, or just have a freaking celebration just because, like, who cares? It's just neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. It's really cool.
I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, my whole path was very frustrating for me. I felt lost a
Yeah.
lot.
Well, I
I
have to.
felt, yeah, I was
Get
like, the experience of failure was like very, despite the success, was very visceral, in that, well, this job didn't work out, and well, I don't want this. And, looking back, I can see the collection of all the tools and necessary experiences, but it was really a painful experience because I felt like I was giving my power away and wasting time.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that pisses me off more than a woman that gives up on her dream, plays
Mhm.
small, and gives
Right.
her power away. Because I know that all too well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I It's interesting because I've had, just dating, right? Like
Yeah.
meeting men who I know that I could move to a small town and be a mom and just be a stay-at-home mom, and I would be okay with that, right? Like I would. I would also probably get bored. I would want to go do things. I would still want to have my podcast. I would want to become, like, someone told me the other day, they were like, I could see you being that like TikTok mom that's showing all the baby products and all the things. And I'm like, 100% I'm going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I want to show people like, I mean, I almost wish that social media was around when I was growing up, because my family lived a very different way than where we were raised. Like we were raised in a very
Mhm.
small town. We were vegetarians. That was unheard of. Like my parents drove every 2 weeks into downtown Atlanta, which is about an hour drive, and would go grocery shopping at a vegetarian grocery store.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like, I was just very submerged into like a culture that was very not average where I grew up. So it was interesting. Um, but all that to say, I lost my train of thought. What were we just saying
I
before I
mean,
said
you could be Rachel Hollis was kind of the poster child of what? Like the ultimate mompreneur of the Midwest. I feel
that?
like,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
you know, I never really like resonated with her stuff, but she blew up.
Mm-hmm.
She has a huge following.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes. No, exactly. Absolutely. She definitely did. And she was very connecting. But that's what I was saying about like dating. It's like I'll meet guys and I'm like, I mean, granted, it hasn't worked out because they can't meet me where I'm at and where I want to go, or they're not where I want to go, kind
Yeah,
of thing. And it's like, okay, could I be that, could I just go live in the suburbs and be a,
sure.
soccer mom? Totally. I could, like, I can. But I also see myself having a talk show or being on TV again and doing all these things. And I'm like, wow, Kelly, do you have to choose? Do you have to pick, And granted, I have definitely been around way too many highly successful people that have successful businesses and marriages and thriving relationships. And they're like, no, you don't have to choose. You can have both, So maybe I'm brainwashed in that regard, but I don't think so.
Listen, I'm in the burbs of, Atlanta
I
here.
love the bird.
Granted, I kind of like want to hide when my neighbors find me online because you're like, oh God, no, like saddle up, sister. But it happens. And actually, sometimes we'll get weird questions like, so like, how do you learn to meditate? That was a question I was asked once. They kind of look at you like you're this alien with five heads. But you could do it. You could go to the burbs and you
Yeah,
could get wifed up and be a soccer mom and
yeah,
also have a fucking epic talk show.
exactly. Like I want all of that.
Yeah.
Like I do want to have children. I had a moment last night. I was laying on my couch and I'm like, I keep telling myself like, okay, I'll be 40 in 2 years, like a year and a half. But I don't really have, of course, it the thought of like not having a boyfriend, not being married, not having children, like, yes, of course that comes up, but I don't feel this like pressure that I feel many other women have.
Mhm.
But then I had this thought last night and I was like, my dad will be 70 in December. Like like I started thinking more in that regard, like, okay, if I were to even have a kid like next week, I'm like, my the average age of people is
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I have another 30 years with my parents for
Yeah.
my kids to actually like will, I mean, granted, I don't know what's going to happen, of course, but like if I have a solid 10, 15 more years, like my kids won't even be adults knowing their grandparents. And that
Mhm.
just hit me. And I was like, okay, now I need to have a boyfriend. I need to get a baby.
I need to get a baby. It's
Well,
great.
I was
Yeah. I
18.
get it though.
Yeah, like I think I was 19 when my grandparents that were closest to me passed away. And they were in New York though. Like I didn't know my grandparents as well as I now in hindsight would have liked to.
Mhm.
I'd been closer and that kind of thing. But, I'm just like, yeah, now I'm like, shit. Now there's a little bit more pressure.
So, dear podcast community, we have a request. Are you
Mine
accepting? Have you ever done that before where you've asked people to like, I don't know, submit men to you like on a
No, but
form or
now we are. We're doing it right
okay,
now.
we should totally do this because I bet someone knows someone like everything's relational currency, right?
Totally.
Going back to the beginning, I wouldn't have some of the path that I experienced would not have been experienced without my friend Ashley.
Mm,
So if
right.
someone has got a guy, okay, let's give them what do you want? What are you looking for?
I have a list in my phone. Entrepreneurial mindset. They do not have to have a business, but I want them to think expansively. Like I want them to have that growth and abundant mindset, right?
So do they
Uh,
have a coach and a therapist?
yeah.
Great.
Yes. And or they're open to it. Like they're
Yeah.
open to being in that work. Yes. Emotionally safe. I want them to. I have been in situations where I felt like there was a stronger connection because they're good listeners.
Mm.
And so I'm like being super vulnerable and they're listening and responding. But then on the flip side, when I go to ask the questions and giving them a safe space to be vulnerable, they're not. And they're just like, yeah, we can talk about that later.
So not avoidant. Great.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yes, exactly. That they can just be emotionally available for
Yeah.
me. For us to both be that way. Yeah, kind, loyal, gets along really well with my friends. I say, thoughtful, thinks ahead of me asking them to do something. They're two steps ahead of you. I love that. Like when I see my friends and their husbands like doing, I'm like, he's such a great guy. Like, that's great. You didn't
Yeah.
even have to ask him. He knew. He knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's just great. And they're gonna be good with our kids and like want to have conversations around, finances and want to have conversations around what would we do in these certain situations? Just have more evolved, deeper conversations that are gonna help us work better together.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm asking for a needle in a haystack, really, but
No, he exists. What
it does
any preferences on how he looks?
I mean, I'm normally drawn to like taller, like brunettes, tall,
Tall,
dark
dark,
hair.
and handsome.
Yeah. Not necessarily dark, but I mean, I like guys who can tan well.
Yeah.
Don't want any paleys. But yeah, I mean, just
And is it okay if he has kids or no?
I'm okay with it. I would prefer not.
But
Granted,
wants
obviously,
kids.
yes, but wants kids, yes, for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, if he has okay, I will say this, like went to Halcyon a couple of weeks ago with my girlfriends, and they were all like, Kelly, that guy doesn't have a ring on, like had a little bit of like graying in his hair. He's so good looking. Kelly, if you don't think that he is an attractive man, like there literally is something wrong with you. And I'm like, It's not that I do. He's a very attractive man, but also those are his 3 children right there. I don't think that's my level. If there was one, I might be able to get on board, but 3 is a lot, guys.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Because anything additional is like, okay, now we're at 4, then maybe 5.
Yeah. It's a lot. I mean, granted,
Chaos.
you never know who you're going to fall in love with, but I would prefer someone that I do believe that there are other men out there who have a very similar journey to me that have never been married, you know, and maybe they've gone through this whole like self-love journey of their own too, and how to experience life. And I have met people like that, that have never been engaged, never been married, don't have any children. I'm like, that's awesome, you know, didn't work out, but whatever. But yeah, so I feel like the preference is no kids, but I'm not going to be totally opposed to it either.
Okay. And where should people submit Instagram, social media handles, headshots, and descriptions? But for real.
For real, we're not kidding. Guys, please do this. And I don't care where they live, really. Well, no, I do care where they live. I actually do have a preference. In a sense, I do obviously want them to be in the United States. Honestly, I would love an Atlanta boy. Because I would like.
Yeah, then we can do double dates.
Yeah, we could do double dates, exactly. Right. And I could be like, hey, babe, like, you want to go grocery shopping with me? And not have to be like, oh, you got to catch a flight to come see me on a weekend. Like, I just don't think I could do the long distance thing. But maybe, you know, throw them out there. You never know. So I would
open a long distance if he's willing to move to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to be opposed to it. Like, send all the guys. Send them all. Let me just.
Where are they sending them to?
It's just through Instagram. That'll be the best way.
To DM you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Or you can email me too.
Where do they email you?
I might get crazy. That would be fun though. Okay. Yeah. You can email me, chaselifewithkellyc@gmail.com.
Perfect. Headshots, descriptions.
Yes.
And we need a social media handle because we need to get the full picture. You can't just send one good headshot and then you like see a different angle of them and you're like, whoa.
Right.
That's or what are they posting about? Like if it's crazy shit, you know?
Yeah. We don't want crazy shit.
Yeah. And it's helpful to look through who they follow.
Yeah.
As well. That's a good filter.
Yeah.
They're following all Instagram models. It's like,
yeah.
No.
This is smart. This is good. Oh my gosh. Maybe this is it.
This could be it.
Is gonna be in my DM soon.
And now we'll get to work on the like that.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I'll get like all these things and we're like, oh, I don't know all those.
Yeah. Because like the mind says yes and the body's like,
oh, 100%. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's so true. It was interesting. I was introduced to a guy earlier this year from a friend of mine, and we met up. It didn't work out because he was very freshly starting to date someone.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, I think they had just started like the same week and anyways, he pursued that. But I was just like, wow, didn't realize that was actually going to go as well as it did. Shit. And I don't think like he texted me later, like, you know, after we met and he was like, that was pleasantly surprising. All right. Well, like, hope to talk to you again soon one day kind of thing. Or like, that was it. Bye. Like, all right, well, if that didn't work out, if you know what I'm talking about. Oh, if that didn't work out, then I'm still available.
Yeah. We're gonna have to title this. I'm just gonna take over. We're gonna have to title this episode something about Kelly's Chronicles of Dating. You can start a series within your podcast of like dating updates, how the headhunt is going, the matchmaking. Yeah. Come on, ladies. Someone has to know somebody.
Yeah.
Kelly, like someone.
Yes, please. Yeah. Well, that's another thing. Like, I know, you know, I give this advice to other people. It's like, okay, put myself in situations where my ideal person would be and where I like to go. Right. And so the other day I did look at like conferences, like empowerment, motivational conferences that are like coming to Atlanta. I'm like, like I like going to those things. So potentially my guy will be there too.
Sorry, the champagne club is all women.
Yes.
Except we were going to probably have the same bartender next time. So.
Oh yeah, the bartender was a cutie.
He was very cute.
He was.
Yeah. Chelsea got good photos of him.
Yeah. He's so cute. Oh my gosh. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see with the whole dating thing. But
yeah,
that was great. That was fun. Thanks.
That was fun. You're welcome. Keep me posted.
I will. I definitely will. Okay. I'm like, go back to you real quick before we end this thing. One question for you. How has somatics helped you not only in your career, in your business, but also with your relationship?
Oh my gosh.
Your marriage.
Honestly, there's no way Jake and I would have survived if we hadn't had the baseline of personal development that we've had or the somatic work, because we would have sabotaged it by now.
Yeah.
It was too scary. It was so scary in the beginning. I mean, we overcame through a global pandemic. We were dating long distance. He had never been married, never moved in with a partner, never had kids, and basically had to cross all these thresholds all at once, essentially. And as entrepreneurs, I mean, it's a lot. Yeah. And then not only that, like, I believe that your divine partner really is one of your best spiritual teachers. Mm-hmm. And while it may seem like a mind fuck that they press into all of the most traumatic, darkest places of you, it's so that you can heal it together and be free of it in relationship. Because like we both individually got to a point on our spiritual journey of healing where it was like, I feel really peaceful and I'm good. And then you get into a partnership where you're just like, oh gosh, they're literally pushing into every part of me that feels unsafe to go to. Like even really good things, for example. I remember like we were in Mexico and I had my long Barbie hair extensions at the time, and my hair started to, like, after going in the ocean, started to dry naturally. And my hair is a wild lion mane. I actually straightened it for today, but it's wild hair. And he goes, whoa, what's going on with your hair over here? And I'm like, I know, it's like crazy. I look like a Cocker Spaniel. Like it's insane. And he's like, no, I like it. And you're like, oh, it was just kind of, I'd always been with guys that liked the idea of me, but didn't really embrace me for who I actually was. And so that was a little bit like, talk about skeptical. Like, are you sure you like this? Like, is he saying this to like make me look ugly? Right. So it was a little bit like, oh, and it was like more this invitation to be all of me, and I'm not too much. And like, it's the fullest expression of me, where I had felt shut down and like it was wrong to be that. Wow. So overcoming that was it's just a part of many of the things we had to overcome. But even there were lots of moments where we were leaned and pressed up against the innermost hurt parts of ourselves, and it required us to lean into them, to heal them, so that we didn't sabotage it. Yeah. So we could see like the pure love that has been there and is there. And that's really hard work to do, because most people run away from that. Most people sabotage it because it's too hard to heal. It's too hard to lean into that. And so, yeah, without this work, we wouldn't be. Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. I love that. So I need someone, yes, confirmed therapy, somatic. Yeah, absolutely. Damn it. I wish you could come to the retreat. I know. Yeah. Well, that's awesome though. Anything else you want to add? I would love to gift your audience with, we have it's called the Limitless Leader Playbook. Okay. And it's a 3-part video training series. But what it does is it helps you identify somatically in your own system when you feel like you're approaching an upper level limit, like an internal barrier, and then what self-sabotage feels like after you've had the thing. Could be healthy love, could be your next level of abundance, whatever that thing is for you. And then what it feels like after you've sabotaged it, or you're kind of rubber banding back, snapping back to what's familiar, even though it's not really what you want. And we do that, right? Lottery ticket winners do that. 70% of lottery ticket winners spend their savings, spend their earnings, not because they say, I want to sabotage this and get back to struggle, but it's because it's what their nervous system knows.
Hmm.
Right. So, yes, it's identity work, but how do we shift the identity? We do it on the system, the nervous system level. We do it on the level of cellular consciousness.
Yeah.
And that's how we access that. So, I would love to gift everyone that, and I'll give you the link for that so that people can sign up. Again, it's totally free. It's a 3-part series, comes with a whole playbook so that people can move beyond whatever their limits are.
Thank you. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Yeah, definitely everyone go do that. Well, I haven't gone through it myself yet, but I will be doing that.
Awesome.
Sounds
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. I'm just looking for that because I do. I mean, I totally get this work and I want that too because I recognize, like you were just talking about, just like the rubber band. I'm like, I feel like I can edge myself a little bit, but then I'm like, right back to
Yeah.
the things that I don't want.
Yeah, it's why we might do something once and see massive success, and then we never go back
Right.
again to
Yeah.
that. Or it's why we might taste the thing or have, an amuse bouche of what's possible, and then it doesn't seem to stick or be something consistent.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, tell everybody where they
Yeah.
can find you too.
Yeah. Elevate with Keri, KERI.com is the best place to find me. Socials are on there, links for things, email list. We send out a weekly newsletter. That's an extra value add. We don't share any of that stuff online. There's pieces
Mhm.
maybe, but not in its entirety. Announcements for events like the Champagne Club that you went to, rooms, events, containers, programs, things for women that they are wanting to up level and be part of. So that's the best place.
I love it. Well, thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Cal. Love
Yeah.
you.
Love you too.